Where's all my soul sisters? Let me hear your flow, sisters.
Hey, sister, go, sister, soul, sister, flow, sister, hey, sister, go.
Hello! Welcome back to this episode of your Sold Sisters, where today we are going to talk a little bit about the market and also give you an overview of the home buying process so you know what to expect from start to finish.
Awesome. My name is Amanda Zuniga.
I'm Heather McKitty.
And again, welcome to Sold Sisters. All right.
So, you want to talk a little bit about the market first, or you want to dive right into...
Yeah, I mean, a little bit about the market. As we know, like the Colorado home prices are pretty strong, especially in places like Colorado Springs and Denver. Interest rates are a little bit higher than what we saw a few years ago, but that doesn't mean it's a bad time to buy, obviously.
Yeah, I personally think it's a great time to buy. Interest rates came down just a skosh.
Yeah.
I mean, they are still high. It does hurt your buying power, but, you know, with our inventory here increasing by 40%, I've seen sellers a lot more motivated. They're willing to wheel and deal way more than I think they've been willing to in years past.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And if you continue to wait, you know, as we know, rent prices are climbing and they're going to continue to rise, as well as the cost of a home now versus later, it's going to be more expensive as well. So those are reasons why to talk to a realtor about possibly buying a home and what that does entail and what it looks like for you.
Yep. A lot of people do say too, you know, just if you feel like the interest rates are high, you're not too crazy about that, you can still get a better deal now and refinance when those rates come down and end up lowering your payment. So
talk about that, like as when we come to writing up an offer, you know, as far as asking for concessions for a rate buy down as well to help with that interest rate. So there's a lot of options out there that I believe buyers are not aware of, and that's what we're here to do, is to try to help inform and educate as much as possible.
absolutely.
So we'll briefly kind of go over the buying process. The first thing that you always want to do when you're thinking about buying a home is find a reputable lender. Get that pre-approval. That is the number one thing that you can do when you're considering buying a home, right? Talk to a lender, find out what your budget looks like, find out what your finances look like, and find out what you can comfortably afford before you start looking for a home.
You need a good jumping off point, and that's really where to start. You know, it's going to be really hard to lower your expectations, right? If you call random agents, and yes, they're probably willing to meet you at their listing and show it because they want to get that listing sold, even though you haven't been pre-approved or pre-qualified or anything yet. But when you run around town and say you're looking at houses that might be 450 or 500,000, and then we flip you to one of our trusted lenders, and they come in and say, well, you've got some credit card debt, and you've got a car payment, and you've got some student loans, and so really I can only give you a loan for 400,000. You know, you're going to be really sad.
Right, when you can't get that home.
When you have to start looking at houses at the $400,000 range, and you've been looking at some that were almost 500. So just start there. There. So,
and it's with that as well. It comes to what is your monthly payment going to be? Because the lender could come back and say, "Hey, yeah, you're approved up to 500,000. Fantastic, you can get the home of your dreams." But your payments are like $4,000, $4,500 a month. Like, can you really comfortably afford that?
Absolutely.
You know, you got to take into account everything that you're paying, and what if an emergency arises? Do you have 3 to 6 months of money saved? It's really important to kind of know the numbers and what your payment is actually going to look like. That way you can actually look at a home that is within that budget and that you can fall in love with as well. And also just being a first-time home buyer, for our first-time home buyers, it's not your forever home. When you go buy your first home, don't think of it as a dream home. Think of it as your first home, your starter home. Think of it as a stepping stone to get you to your dream home. And I think that's a really big block for some buyers, is they always want to go with the biggest and the best, or they want to go with their dream home. And when you're when you're first getting into real estate and you're first thinking about buying a home, I think you really got to look at the home that maybe you can invest a little bit of money into, or a home that you can stay in for a while. This can build on equity. So you can use that equity to buy another home, and then use that equity from that home to buy your dream home. It's like an investment, really. So
Yeah, it's stair steps. I mean, I certainly did that when I bought my first home. We bought big time fixer upper that we put a lot of sweat equity into.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't very long at all. Like 3 years down the line, right?
Yeah.
We were able to sell that property, take the money out of it, and buy our next home that was a home that we really loved a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, use it like a stepping stone. Find something that you can be comfortable in for 3 to 5 years, and like you said, maybe you can make some improvements yourself if you're handy, and get that sweat equity out of it.
Absolutely.
So.
Like we talk about looking at the history of real estate and how it compares to investments. Like real estate has one of the best returns long term. And that's why we try to talk to people about that, as far as, hey, this can create generational wealth. You're setting your future up for success by investing in the first property. Yeah, just kind of tag on that. Sorry.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So after you find an amazing lender and you kind of go through that process, and you get that pre-approval, next step obviously is reaching out to your agents. So you call us. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you interview different agents, see who you work well with. Again, we are always here to help, and what matters to us is what's in the best interest of our clients. But when you find that agent, will start the process of trying to help you narrow down the search, narrow down the homes that fit within your budget.
Yep. I usually, like she mentioned, your lender may say, you can buy a $750,000 house, but you're like, I do not want this payment. You tell the lender the payment that you do want, and they'll calculate it, and we'll have a nice range to work with. And then, I just ask other questions. Is the school district important to you? Do you have kids? Is being close to work important to you? Things like that. You want to think in general terms of, where do I want to be in the city? Kind of have some type of area in mind. And then we start working from there with, how much square feet do you think you need? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Are you looking for a garage? Does it have to be a 2-car garage? Or people that say, no, I have to have a 3-car or better, But we can plug all of that into a very sophisticated search for you, so that you are also finding out. This is what I think is probably one of our biggest values. Nowadays, everybody starts their search online, and buyers, I can't fault you for it. It is so much fun to scroll through Zillow and look at houses on Zillow. And I have had clients that have found their own properties. Hey, Heather, what about this one? I didn't see this in my search for whatever reason. But when we set you up with the search from the MLS, it's all real time. Like the second an agent has a new listing and they put that in and they click the save button, if it matches your criteria, it's emailed to you instantly. So that way you're the first to know about it. That's super important, especially in hotter markets where things are just flying off the shelves. It's very, very helpful to be the first to know about something, so you can be the first one to run out there and look at it, and the first one to put an offer on it if it's an amazing house.
Absolutely. So. And I think a benefit of a realtor also, like I've had an experience where somebody had reached out to me, said, hey, I seen this house that we were really interested in. It was on the market. Now I don't see it no more. What happened? And I reached out to the agents, and I was able to talk to the agent and find out that the sellers wanted to try to get it sold before the school year. And because they haven't really got it sold, they were taking it off the market. But if somebody was really serious and really wanted to see it and were interested, they might be able to work with them. So having a realtor that you can kind of reach out to, that can network with other people, reach out to the real estate agent and try to still work a deal even if they took it off the market. I think that's where there's a lot of value too. And then also, I think it's important when you do speak with the real estate agents, and when you find that realtor, to have the discussion as far as how long do you plan to stay in that property. Because a big thing is making sure that you stay in that property long enough that you're going to allow for it to build equity. You know, I think a lot of times we have that conversation, well, if you're in the military and you're gonna deploy in about 2 years, it may not be the best investment option unless you plan to rent it out. And then in that case, what do rents look like in that area? And what are they gonna be like in 2 years? Because I'm okay, a lot of the conversations I have with my buyers and my sellers is, you know, especially with my sellers, like, do you really want to sell this property? Have you thought about renting it out? Have you thought about making it like a potential income property so you can get that income and go buy your next home? Or sometimes people just want the equity from this to get something bigger or better. But just having that conversation with our clients and making sure we know kind of where they're at, what their goal is, so we're on the same trajectory.
Yeah.
The next step, when you find that agent, you find the home. We're going to go take a look at the homes. The next thing would be?
Well, you're going to find one you fall in love with, and then it's time to make that offer.
Yes, it is.
So
Awesome.
and we can coach you through that step by step. Don't get too afraid. Their contracts are what, 23 pages nowadays, 24 pages,
They are long.
something like that. But I do like to sit down and do a little consultation. We can run through everything that's in there, break it down into, you know, digestible pieces,
Yeah.
answer any questions that you have.
And I think that's the most important thing is
Yeah.
that when you do receive that offer or that contract, like, it can be really overwhelming. There's a lot of jargon in there that is just, it's hard to digest, like you said. So being able to have a trusted agent by your side to walk you through every step of that contract and make sure you feel comfortable, somebody that can explain it and has the knowledge behind it to explain it, I think that makes a world of difference. You know,
And I will back up just a little tiny bit too. I think another place where we hold value, right, is even before we write up that offer. I don't know about you, but I do this for every single one of my clients. When they're like, Heather, I want to make an offer on this house. Whether they ask for it or not, I send them comps
Yeah.
and say, okay, here you go. This is what sold in the last 90 days or the last 6 months. It just depends on how many properties are out there, right? Whether you're looking at the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, to say like, this is what all the similar houses, like the one that you're in love with, are selling for right now. This is how much they're paying towards buyers' closing costs. So you can tell, are they fairly priced? Are they overpriced? Are they underpriced? Like, because that makes a big difference.
It does.
Where you want to come in with that first initial offer. So.
Yeah, so you can write a clean and competitive offer. I think that's really important.
Yep.
As well as when you do write that offer, going through that process, there are going to be some due diligence items in which we will be in communication for. So once you write the offer, a lot of times for my clients, you know, if it gets accepted, I'm like, hey, get that earnest money turned in right away. And you might not know this, but like, earnest money is totally negotiable too. So I don't think a lot of agents talk to their clients about that, but sometimes it can be negotiable. And I think that's important for us to inform our clients just in case it was something that maybe they didn't have that full amount. But once we get that earnest money done, a lot of times I'm trying to have my clients get their inspection done within the first couple of days. If you get that inspection done on that house, a lot of times we'll send you a list of different inspection companies. I always recommend to my clients to kind of call them, see what services they offer, look at their reviews, see who they mesh well with, see their pricing, and decide who they want to use. When we get that inspection done, then we go ahead and get that objection written up and, you know, sent over, so we kind of have an idea of what everything's going to look like before the bank tries to order the appraisal. Because a lot of times you have to pay for that appraisal, either up front or it gets added to the end, like a closing cost. But I like to make sure that if my clients decide to back out of a house due to an inspection item that's not going to be resolved or anything, I want to make sure that they didn't pay for that appraisal to be done, and they're backing out and they lose that money.
Yeah. Absolutely. It always surprises me when I see people that order that appraisal within 48 hours of going under contract. I think it's maybe more typical, but it's definitely the way that I like to do it as well. Why should you have to pay $850 for an appraisal on a house that you do not intend to buy because you found out the foundation is crumbling out from underneath it? It's just,
What I did learn though is that some banks will eat it up. Some banks like to get it done right away. Like my last house, the bank, they like to get it done right away. Because I was like, whoa, why are we ordering this? Why? You know, I was kind of panicking, but it's that the bank will eat that if they decide to terminate or something. So I was like, well, that's good. As long as it doesn't pass to the client, I'm fine with that. But don't pass it to my client. So so figuring out those due diligence, the earnest money, the inspection, getting the appraisal done. The appraisal is very important because you don't want to be paying more for a house than what it's actually appraised at. The goal is to walk into a home with a little bit of equity. That would be definitely the end game for our clients.
And for those of you that may not know what earnest money is, so you make an offer, the seller accepts your offer. It's basically just a deposit and a show of good faith that you intend to fulfill your portion of the contract and close and purchase this home. So it's usually 1% of the purchase price is typically what's asked for. As Amanda mentioned, it's totally negotiable, so you could plug in a different value, but that's just, you write a check, it's deposited with the title company, and it sits there until the day of closing. And if it doesn't need to be credited towards your closing costs or credited towards your down payment, say you had 100% of that covered through your loan type and through negotiating closing costs to be paid for by the seller, then you would just get that money back as a check at closing. So
I like that word you just said, negotiating. See, that's another benefit that a realtor can bring to the table, is that we're working hard for our clients. We're doing what's in their best interest. So that will involve us negotiating whether you need concessions for closing costs, if you need it for a rate buy down. When it comes to the inspection objection that's written, we're going to be negotiating on your best interest and make sure that especially health and safety items are getting addressed. Or if there's certain things that need to be credited because they can't fix it, just
there's a lot
for you.
of sellers that who knows what their circumstance is, but once you're under contract and you do your inspection, I always say it's a negotiation within a negotiation, right? You get your contract done, but then we found out that the house has all these problems and you don't want to inherit them, so we will draft a proposal and get that to the seller, and that's just another negotiation in there. Then the seller looks at it and says, all right, you know what, I'll cover four out of 5 of these things. Either you're okay with it or you're not, or like you said, their sellers' life circumstances, they just really don't have the time or the money or the this or the that to hire contractors and do all of these repairs. So maybe we say, hey, you know what, I think a reasonable ask would be, see if they'll give you a $3,000 credit if you're okay with taking these things on after the fact. So.
And you can always get contractors out there to get estimates too, but just be cautious of that too. And that's why you have a realtor that's by your side with those estimates. If they're willing to give you a certain amount, you might want to over budget a little bit just to be safe, because it could change after closing. When it comes to negotiating, it doesn't stop after the offer is put in at all. It continues throughout the entire contract up until closing potentially. So
most of the time appraisals come in good, but that could be another little hurdle if your appraisal, if there are conditions on it, or if it doesn't come in at value, then you're kind of back to the drawing table again. So where we'll fight for you and try to get you the best, most fair deal that we could possibly swing. So
our goal is to get you to closing day with the most money in your pocket and the most equity in your home and less hassle. So closing day, definitely that's the greatest day. Closing day belongs to buyers in the state of Colorado. That's the day you go and sign all the paperwork, you get your keys, and we definitely celebrate.
Yes.
And then
absolutely.
Outside of that, we could talk about some of the challenges and solutions in today's market as well. So I know one of the, like we discussed earlier, one of the major things, a lot of what we hear is but the interest rates, like we talked about for the interest rates, they came down just a little bit. You can always ask the seller for concessions to do a rate buy down. And then also the thing with the rates is the price of the homes will continue to go up. So like if you find the home that you really want and you decide not to buy it because the interest rates, well, if you wait a little bit and you decide to buy it later, you're paying more for the home. It's just going to cost you more money, really.
Yeah.
I hope I explained that right. I know I'm like,
Rate's a big factor, but let's look at it this way. When we had historically low rates, what did we have? We had a market that was in an absolute frenzy. You could
Yeah.
list a house on a Thursday, and by Monday you'd have a dozen offers.
yeah.
And generally speaking, the offer that the seller went with was probably for like $50,000 over the asking price.
Which is so sad.
So you have to ask yourself, do I want to pay a fair rate, a fair price for this house and have a little bit higher rate? Or if I wait, like you said, prices are going to continue to go up. And then even though the rate might be less, all the other buyers are going to jump into the markets if the rates improve a lot. And so you're going to be right back into those bidding wars
Yeah.
and stuff again. So I say one of the, it's very expensive to buy the rate down permanently, right? You got to throw a lot of money at it and you may only get, I don't know, 0.25% better, right? Which isn't a huge savings to you. So what we're seeing predominantly is the 2-1 buy down. And it is temporary, but it gives you a nice 2-year period where you're actually saving a lot of money. It saves you more money than, say, asking $10,000 below their asking price. That'll save you $65 a month, right? 20 grand below the asking price, saving you $130 a month. The 2-1 buy down, you get a rate that's 2% less for the first year. And like I said, when I look at those numbers, sometimes that's a savings of as much as like $400 a month. And then you get a rate that's 1% less for the second year. And of course, the logic there before it adjusts all the way back up to whatever the going rate is on year 3 is that maybe we'll see some relief before then. And you're able to refinance and actually get into a much lower, like, permanent rate that you don't have to worry about.
Yeah. And I think you brought up a good point with that too, is, and I just drew a blank, but it was a great point. So I hope you guys got it, but it was a great point. Oh, it was, when you decide to buy the rate down, like, it can be lucrative, but if you're not going to be in that home for like 10 years and you're dropping $50,000, $60,000, $70 to try to buy a rate down, it may not.
Yeah, I would never do that. I would never give anybody that
It's not a great
advice.
benefit to you. That's not
Yeah.
going to help you. So if you're not going to be staying there long term, then it's definitely not worth that. It's worth waiting for the rate to come down a little bit and then just refinancing, like
Yeah.
you said. So
And
sorry.
like I said, the 2-1 buy down, I mean, that's reasonable. That
Yeah.
may,
Oh, yeah.
you
Save
can
money in the
ask
first couple
the
years.
seller to pay for that with concessions. And it's usually something like $10,000 to $12,000.
Yep.
But it saves you a lot of money. Like I said, if you're saving $400 every month for that first year, and then perhaps you're saving $250 to $300 a month the second year, it's worth it. It's worth it.
So, and to help navigate the competition, you have great realtors that know how to write strong, clean, and competitive offers. And that's what we do.
Yep.
And then there's some talk too about down payment worries. So with VA, the good thing is you don't have to worry about a down payment, which is awesome. When it comes to FHA, there are some down payment assistance programs out there. And we can always send that information to you too if you would qualify for those down payment assistance programs.
Yes. So that way, no down payment has to come from you. It's kind of all covered.
Yeah.
But things to also keep in mind are just make sure you do have enough to maybe put down some earnest money to pay for your inspections, to pay for your appraisal if you have to pay for that out of pocket, and still be able to feed yourself
Exactly.
until you get to the closing table. So
Exactly.
you do have to have a little something, even though we can find you, like I said, down payment assistance programs and other outlets out there that
Yeah.
can make it super affordable.
So main thing is just definitely, the media can make it sound so scary, I would highly recommend doing your own research, talking to somebody that you trust, as in a realtor that you trust, not your sister's, uncle's, brother's mother, you know. Talk to somebody that's actually in the business, has been in the business and works on this daily, to kind of help counteract some of the fears or answer some of those questions that you may have. I think that's very important.
Yeah. You may decide that you're not ready, and that's okay too. You know, like I said, I get a lot of repeat business. I'm sure you do too. And that's because I'm not pushy. I don't try to force somebody to buy a house. I would never do that. Like, it has to make sense for you.
Yes.
And you're the one in the control. I am just helping you figure out the best way to reach your goals and make sure that you're pretty much fully protected as we go through all of these stages and steps.
And I love how you said that, because buying a home, it's an amazing thing, but sometimes, depending on what's going on in somebody's life, it may not be right for them in that moment. And so it's really important to get familiar with your clients, get familiar with what's going on in their life, what their goals are, and help them see like their goal or their plan, or make that plan to get to where they can buy that home, because it's not right in that moment for everybody. And then so can you tell me let's talk about what you can gain from buying a home.
So, I mean, I think you definitely have more freedom.
Yeah, you do.
You can do what you want.
Do you want
whereas
black
if you're
walls
in
and a black
rental-
kitchen?
Yeah.
Black walls and a black kitchen.
You can do
Have
that.
you seen those black kitchens?
And the reality is, you know, rental rates, they're always going up and up and up and up and up. Once you get into a house, really the only fluctuation with your payment at all is just going to come in the form of if your taxes or your homeowner's insurance changes, and those are more minor changes.
Yeah.
So I think it offers more long-term stability.
Oh yeah, peace of mind, a little bit less stress in a way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you know, most of us move around enough, right? But, you know, I'm hoping to pay my house off, and then one day, hey, no house payment at all.
Right.
You know?
Which is
And then I'm
amazing feeling.
living in my house for free.
Pretty much.
All I have to pay are the
have-
insurance and the taxes. So
Pride of ownership, right?
pride of
Pride
ownership.
of ownership. Then the tax benefits that you can get, and then it's just a place that you can truly make it yours versus a rental. I feel like they have all these strict guidelines. Can't paint this, can't do that, can't do that. You know, if you wanna, you could customize your house however you want, as long as you're not in an HOA. If you're in an HOA, there are some guidelines. You want to be cautious, you know, depending on what you do with the outside of your home. But on the inside,
You can do whatever you want.
the world's your oyster.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And like you said, it does help you grow wealth, which is kind of one of my pet peeves, I guess, with you know, how our prices jumped, and they jumped so high because rates were so
Yes.
low for so long, and then now the rates doubled. It's just, I get a little irritated that home ownership isn't more affordable for everyone in the world, because I think, you know, it does generate wealth over the long term,
Nice.
and it does offer stability over the long term.
It does.
So I
Yep.
think everybody should own a home, but
I believe real estate is one of the most powerful
you can
tools
swing
in building
it.
long-term wealth, for
Yeah.
sure. So as far as a great takeaway, buying a home in Colorado right now can be challenging, but it's absolutely possible. And with the right people by your side, it won't be as scary, I'd hope. You know, we'll try to make
Yeah.
it as easy or as simple as possible. It's not always the easiest thing, but we'll try to make it as simple as possible.
Absolutely. So yeah, I would say reach out to us first, unless you know a lender. You know, like I said, that was kind of what we said was the first step. But just to recap them really quick,
Yeah.
you know, if you don't know a good lender, reach out to us first,
that's
because
what we're
we'll
here for.
give you a handful of references of
Absolutely.
people that we already know, like, and trust, that we've been using for years, that treat our people right. But yeah, start
That's
with
a
the
good point, yeah.
pre-approval.
When we say, hey,
Yeah.
find a lender, I mean, reach out to us. We'll help you find that lender. We're not just going to give you one. We're going to give you several different people to reach out to.
Yeah.
And see who you work well with, who has the best rates. Shop around. That's the biggest thing. shop around.
Like I said, we're kind of here to help and to educate and to give you advice and to help you reach your goals. And we've talked about this in meetings. Like, think of us like we're your project manager, right? You know, we'll give you the
Pretty
lender
much.
information. We'll help you. We'll write that contract. We'll break the whole thing down. You know, there's a huge dates and deadlines table in there, right? That just scares people to
Oh,
death,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
so
it's
I like to.
intimidating.
It can be intimidating, right? So I like to be like, here's the ones that are your responsibility that you should kind of worry about. Here's the ones that I will worry about, and I'll just call you if I see a problem, right?
Yeah. And we'll help keep you updated. Okay, hey, earnest money's due on this day. Hey, you know, we're not just going to leave it to you. We're going to stay in communication and remind you of that, because it is a lot of information and it can be overwhelming, and people do forget because life happens.
And we have referral
So-
partners for the inspection too. If you're like,
yeah.
I don't know who to hire for an inspection, okay, well, here's 3 or 4 people that I think have been amazing and have helped my clients over the last several years. So
Yeah.
we'll just, like I said, that's kind of what we're here to do, is to make it as simple and as stress-free as it could possibly be.
Absolutely. Yep. So.
And make sure that you are in the best position possible. We don't want to set anyone up for failure here.
No.
The whole purpose in being a homeowner is to be a successful homeowner.
Yes.
And like you said, and get all of those tangible benefits from it.
That's really important. You nailed it. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys joining us today. And again, if you guys have any kind of feedback or any other kind of podcasts from us, please reach out. You know where to find us.
Yeah. Any topics you want to hear about or any questions you have, just comment and let us know. Otherwise, thanks for joining us. And if you want to become a homeowner, give us a call.
Yes. Peace.
Bye.